Well, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, boy, it's just another day ending in Y when it's more bad news for Ubisoft and losing hundreds of millions of dollars because, boys and girls, if you hadn't heard already, Ubisoft admits failure and completely and totally shuts down XDefiant. Yes, boys and girls, it is going the way of the dodo, and man, in just a year that Ubisoft simply cannot catch a break, it's absolutely hilarious to see. And after all, they've done this to themselves, boys and girls. XDefiant might have not been labeled as woke or any of that kind of nonsense out there, might have been considered a cult game, but at the end of the day, this is what happens when you have a company that's completely and totally possessed by the spirit of the age. They concentrate on identity politics over absolutely everything else, and they even on something like this, it's just a brain basic kind of free-to-play shooter out there, boys and girls. It just does not pan out for them very well at all, and it's fun to see Ubisoft admit failure because this is a company that is bordering on bankruptcy, boys and girls. They've already had a lot of threats from their investors talking about how you really need to change things out here. We're going to come after you, and then, boys and girls, this is just going to give them even more ammunition to hopefully actually get this company straightened back out, because trust me, Assassin's Creed Shadows is not going to do them any favors in any way, shape, or form. Because as just like Assassin's Creed Shadows will be a disastrous dumpster fire, just like Star Wars Outlaws was a disastrous dumpster fire, well, here we go, boys and girls, Ubisoft admitting that XDefiant was a disastrous dumpster fire. Because from our dear sweet friends over at boundingintocomics.com, Ubisoft officially shutting down XDefiant after barely 6 months, boys and girls, barely 6 months, just half a year. Promises refunds for Ultimate Founders Pack and purchases made in the last month. So yes, boys and girls, if you're one of the few people out there that actually bought this game, played this game over there with Ubisoft, and got into all of this kind of stuff and spent your hard-earned money, well, guess what? At least for the last month, you are getting a refund because Ubisoft has had to throw in the towel and admit that this thing is nothing more than a disastrous dumpster fire that has failed in every metric possible, and it's going to cost them hundreds of millions of dollars once again that they are sacrificing on the altar to their demigods out there. And now it's blown up completely and totally in their faces, and I'll tell you what, it couldn't have happened to better people. So we're going to check out this article from Bounding Into Comics and get into all of the juicy details, but before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Did you ever interest in XDefiant? Did you actually try the game out and see if it was any good? Did you actually go out there and try to see what was going on? Are you surprised that they're actually shutting things down? Or did you completely and totally avoid this game like the plague because there's just too many of these kind of things out there? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. And if you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. So from our dear sweet Spencer Bakuli over there at boundingintocomics.com, as they say, when it rains, it pours. And for Ubisoft, who is currently struggling to barely keep the company's head above water, their latest storm centers on the announcement that just after barely 6 months of the total uptime, they will officially be closing the doors on their free-to-play FPS XDefiant. Yes, boys and girls, it didn't take long. Properly releasing to the public on May 21st, XDefiant's gameplay loop centered on assigning players to one of two teams, each made up of 6 players total, and having them face off in a 1 of 6 games, including escort, a payload delivery style, oh yeah, that kind of stuff. I hate escort missions. Zone control, which I think that's pretty obvious what that is. It's basically capture the flag. Domination, which tasks each team with maintaining possessions, and 3 specific map markers, more capture the flag. So it sounds like it's a lot of capture the flag. Occupy, similar to the last 2 modes, except there's only a single ever rotating map marker. So it sounds like it's literally all the same repetitive nonsense. Hotshot, a deathmatch type mode where players become faster the more enemies they eliminate, albeit at the cost of them becoming more and more visible on the map. And no, readers, neither you nor I missed any details. The game does not have a standard, straightforward deathmatch mode, an admitted head-scratcher for a multiplayer shooter. I mean, yeah, because that's kind of what you want to do, especially if you're going to get a group of friends together. That's what you want to do, is go in there and see who can own the other people in those games without any kind of crazy spoiler or crazy advantage stuff. So yeah, wonder why this didn't pan out, and certainly didn't resonate with any of the kind of FPS players out there. Notably, rather than picking one character via a standard class/hero system as seen in other FPSs like Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six or Overwatch 2, to this end, rather than following in the footsteps of other FPSs, Overwatch 2, and having player pick their style in the classic hero, XDefiant instead asked them to select a faction to fight for, with each organization offering different skills and weapons to use in battle. These factions are based on various groups from Ubisoft's previous titles, including Cleaners, DedSec, Echelon, the Phantoms, GS6 Commando, and the Highwaymen. I mean, they literally just ripped off all of their previous previous games for the classes. They couldn't even come up with anything original for this kind of nonsense. Boy, I wonder why nobody wanted to play this game. But more so than just this bit of synergy, XDefiant's defining feature was perhaps its gameplay, which eschewed typical FPS design philosophies in favor of one that specifically catered to the dash, cancel, heavy, constant weapon switching, fast-paced gameplay that streamers, particularly young ones, seem to gravitate towards, hence the game's association with the colloquial term Zoomer Shooter. Oh, I love how creative all of you guys are out there. Unfortunately for Ubisoft, this gameplay style had little in the way of mass appeal, thus leaving XDefiant squarely in the relative small realm of genuine competitive players and regular streamers. So literally it does no appeal to a broad audience out there because guess what? Normies don't like this kind of stuff. They're not into competitive play. They just want to get together with a group of their friends and blast the hell out of each other. That's really all it takes to make gamers out there happy. As a result, this creative decision, as well as the company's decision to lock the game exclusively behind their proprietary Ubisoft Connect launcher, the game's profile and player base failed to truly take off. Oh yes, color us shocked there. How many times have we seen this kind of nonsense? I mean, we see backlash every time a game that traditionally releases on Steam out there decides to try to add a PlayStation account requirement later just because the game came from Sony. I mean, this stuff never works out for them. Steam is the standard, and just like what we've seen in the entertainment industry out there with Hollywood and everybody trying to have their own streaming service, it's the exact same thing in the video game industry. Everybody having their own launcher is not going to work, and we see how every time one of these things has tried to go out there, it literally flops and fails. Outside of like the Epic launcher, I really don't think there's too many out there that are actually successful in any way, shape, or form. And even then, Epic's only because Fortnite's such a freaking absolutely insane game out there that everybody seems to love. Thus, on December 3rd, Ubisoft took to their official Twitter account, as well as their official website, to announce that XDefiant would be moving into sunsetting mode over the next 6 months in advance of a full shutdown. Well, there you go, boys and girls. If you enjoy the game, you've got 6 months left to play. Thank you for your incredible dedication and support of XDefiant. We regret to inform you that we are initiating the sunset process starting today, December 3rd, 2024. As a result, new downloads, player registration, and purchases will no longer be available. Well, see, there you go. You're not even going to be able to jump into it now if you wanted to, which honestly, the whole no downloads thing is actually kind of stupid when you really think about it, because if you're going to announce something like this, you're going to get a big influx of people that just want to go in there and try it for themselves, like right away. So once again, Ubisoft is making another stupid decision on top of the stupid decision to ever release this game to begin with. So hey, there you go. Color us shocked there. It's just another day that ends in stupid with Ubisoft. Season 3 will launch, so stay tuned for more updates to come. As the servers will remain active and the game will be fully playable for currently registered players until June 3rd, 2025. And it's probably the fact that they don't want anybody new coming in, because they've already probably shrunk these servers down to such an amount that it's only would be able to maintain the current player base that they've got right now. So they don't want an influx of new people, which would probably crash all of their servers and make the game absolutely unplayable for anybody out there. So that's probably a good idea on that one. But still, at the exact same time, you would be able to make money off this. So it's just kind of stupid out there. So Ubisoft also confirmed that they would be issuing refunds for those who purchased the Ultimate Founders Pack, as the bundle promises of providing customers with all the game's first-year faction unlocks and can no longer be fulfilled. To players who have made virtual currency and DLC purchases since November 3rd, 2024, all of which will be handled automatically thanks to the digital nature of these items. However, players who do not receive their refund by January 28th, 2025 are advised to reach out for further assistance via Ubisoft's official support page. So yes, boys and girls, it is over, flat out toasties. And guess what? Everybody that spent a bunch of money on this game, well, at least you're getting refunds. So I guess good credit to Ubisoft for that at least. But at the end of the day, Ubisoft's a broken and battered company, ladies and gentlemen. It's something that hasn't been, according to their own CEO and their own reports, hasn't been in the black in literal years at this point. They were hoping that Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows was going to finally put them back in the black and pull them out of the red. And we all know that's not going to happen. Star Wars Outlaws, along with all the Disney influence that they had on that game, has turned into nothing more than a dire, disastrous dumpster fire. It was a broken and buggy mess right from the get-go. Why was it a broken and buggy mess? Because they concentrated too much on identity politics and their own cult ideals to end up making it a good game. And we know this is permeated throughout all of Ubisoft out there. Maybe it was XDefiant, not overly and obviously woke as quote unquote as defined. No, probably not. But at the end of the day, we know the company's hiring practices are nothing more than DEI initiatives, and we know how that ends up going. We can concentrate on identity politics and not content of the character or what a person can actually bring you to a game. Well, guess what? You get a looter shooter kind of crazy game out here that nobody had any interest in for it, and it was literally only made for competitive players out there, and that is not the majority of your fan base, when you try to find too much of a niche audience, even though you thought, oh, well, it's the Zoomers. It's the Zoomers. They're the new generation coming up. Well, guess what? You've got a massive, you've got at least two, if not, you've got literal 3 generations before them that also have the majority of the money. They're the ones out there going, spending time and actually playing things like this. And guess what? You didn't appeal to them. You had no idea who your actual player base was, and now you have to shut the entire thing down. So XDefiant's going to just be another pile on the ash heap of history of another game that cost a company hundreds of millions of dollars that turned into a giant financial flop. And guess what? There's no way you can deny that about XDefiant. This game did not even keep enough player base going out there to even justify keeping the servers on, boys and girls. They are abandoning ship. Ubisoft is broke, and they cannot continue to afford to pump money into something like XDefiant that is seeing them no returns on investments whatsoever. They've already wasted over $500 million on Star Wars Outlaws that completely and totally lost them money, and Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to do the exact same thing, and they all know it, boys and girls. No matter how optimistic front facing that they try to put out there to their investors and everybody else, at the end of the day, we know Ubisoft is broke, and XDefiant is just the latest proof of that, because they are completely and totally abandoning the game in literally almost a little over 6 months of being released. And boys and girls, for a company like Ubisoft that has had so many disastrous dumpster fires, that has told so many of the fan base to just go screw themselves, well, guess what? It's exactly what you deserve, and it's candy, Piter, candy.